The BC Lions, I mentioned the Grey Cup in Vancouver. Lions would like to host the Western Final. They have to defeat the Saskatchewan Roughriders in a huge game tonight. That game has been overshadowed by the fact that Saskatchewan's Trevis Smith has been charged with aggravated sexual assault, and the Mounties announcing that he tested positive for HIV. With more in the story, standing by in Vancouver, CBC's Steve Armitage.
This was a sight the Riders and the league would have preferred not to see. A shackled and cuffed Trevis Smith en route to a Wednesday court appearance in Surrey, BC. He was charged with aggravated sexual assault. Among the bail conditions were instructions to tell sexual partners he was HIV positive. Smith was released on $10,000 bail and returned to Regina. His teammates arrived at BC Place Stadium minus their middle linebacker and a coach who felt the issue had been dealt with back home.
No one's talking about the game, so I guess I hate to disappoint you folks that came down to talk about anything else, but we will focus on the football game.
At practice on Friday, the Riders appeared focused and relaxed. And if management weren't communicating to the Vancouver media, they had done what they felt was needed with the players.
I think our organization was very good at bringing in the right people, the doctors, and to explain to us what's going on, and not only just socially what, you know, it's a bigger issue than just football, and it's something that kind of for us is the issue is dead in football, and it's kind of our social lives that are the question.
There are many aspects of the Trevis Smith story that we don't know yet and won't know for some time. But from a football standpoint, this we know. Smith will not be in the Riders lineup against the BC Lions in the regular season finale. And whether or not he plays in Montreal in the crossover playoff game has yet to be determined. The Riders aren't saying. Brian?
Thank you, Steve. Now, before discussing this, an excellent column by Stephen Brunt in the Globe and Mail on Thursday. Let me read it to you, part of it at least. For years, it has been an open secret in the league that if you wound up playing in Regina, you could pretty much count on finding company just about any night of the week. There are groupies attracted to pro athletes everywhere in every sport, but in Regina, because of the focus being so narrow, the local celebrity so intense, the phenomenon is right out in front. That combination has the potential of producing an ever-expanding web of shared sexual partners. And that's why this story has a whole lot of people scared right now, inside and outside the league. You're a former general manager. You were quoted in that column as saying you released players for taking drugs, not using the reason they were taking drugs when you were general manager. Would you have released Trevis Smith if you were the general manager and knew about it in Saskatchewan?
Yes, I would have done that in the offseason, Brian. This is a very sad situation in every regard. Your heart goes out to the alleged victim, to Trevis Smith and his family. I know it's been very difficult for Danny and Roy that are loyal to the player and trying to balance all the things that come into this equation. But in my mind, you have to go beyond individual rights and look at the big picture, the collective good. I'm an American. Americans that are up here, it's a privilege to be here to be a guest in your country. It's not a right. And I think in this situation, given the dynamics, all the complicated factors that come into play, they should have released him in the offseason. They could have supported him. It's not kicking him to the curb. They could have been there for him and embraced him. But they have to look out for the community of Regina and the province of Saskatchewan and the collective good of the league, in my opinion.
Well, I completely disagree with that. And I'll give you a reason why, is that you're making way too many assumptions. The number one assumption is that Trevis Smith is guilty. He's been charged, but he has not been convicted. And we have to keep that in mind. The other is that people who have HIV are a risk to society. You cannot make that assumption. You cannot make the assumption that Trevis Smith was acting in inappropriate ways out in society. And so, you know, until they have those assumptions confirmed, you cannot make those decisions. They can't go public with this because there is employee privacy laws in place, and I stand by those laws.
All right, now, it's interesting, two sides of the story. But the fact of the matter is, and it's, I think, 1 in 85 million your chances of getting it during a football game, as a player, are the players distracted? We keep hearing from Danny Barrett and Roy Shivers it's not a distraction. To me, it seems like it would be. What do you think?
The players are towing the company line and saying the right things, but just talking with players with Montreal, with Ottawa, here with Toronto today, players are concerned about this issue, and stats can be whatever they are about the possibility of contracting HIV, but players are concerned, and if they're concerned throughout the league by playing against Trevis, what is going on in that locker room, and how does this affect the football team for the remainder of the season and going into the playoffs? And I can tell you what, if I were a player in that locker room, I would be concerned for issues that Brian touched on in the article, or for issues of playing against him in practice, any open wounds. Hey, the fact is that these guys that are playing in this league are not completely knowledgeable about the subject, and maybe some more education needs to take place for these guys.
And I want to jump back in here on this thing, because as I said in the past, we've made decisions where we had players that we felt had drug problems. We didn't go public, we didn't embarrass them, but we did what was in the best interest of the organization. My concern, Greg, is not on the football field. I think those of us that have done our homework and have talked to physicians realize the odds of it are, what, 1 in 80 million that's going to be contracted. It's off the field, and I respectfully disagree with you. I think there's a moral responsibility to the people in the community and the potential for problems off the field, and I think that supersedes the right of any American that's a guest in this country. That's my opinion. I'm sticking with it.
Would this story actually have blossomed the way that it did into the hysteria that it is if it was about hepatitis B or hepatitis C? And it's probably not going to, because all of a sudden it's HIV, everyone is so scared. HIV is a very fragile virus, if anyone knows anything about viruses, and that it's be able to transmit that to another person is very difficult. We need to get more educated about this, and until that education gets there, the players are going to be apprehensive.
All right, let me jump in here. Darren made a good point. I agree with what you're saying. I can see both sides of it. But would you not be distracted? Do you not agree? I mean, every player that we talked with out here today, they were coming up to me and saying, what do you think of this HIV story? Do you not agree it's a distraction?
Absolutely. It's something that should be on your mind. And now go get yourself educated and find out whether or not it should be a distraction. And through this week getting educated, I realized that, you know what, the probability of transmission on the field is next to nil. What happens if this guy is acquitted? You know, we've all of a sudden thrown him under the bus. What happens if he's acquitted? What's going to go on with Trevis Smith in his life?
Acquitted or not, the story is out there, and it raises the eyebrows to players in this league and people around the league that, hey, one guy is tested positive for HIV. We know that. How many more players are HIV? If I have a turf burn on my arm and the player I'm playing against is bleeding and that rubs into my wound, am I at risk to get HIV? And that is legitimate concerns for these football players, and it's got to affect the way they play on the football field.
The CFL in 2003 stepped in, and they have actually, if anyone has an open wound, has got to come off the field of play and get that contained.
And
then they're able to go back.
They are
enforcing that.
Let's go back off the field. You've been in the locker room. You've been in some locker rooms. You think there aren't some scared players out there based on lifestyle choices?
Absolutely. You know, there is irresponsibility that happens in society in general.
Guys,
that is the issue.
Good points, Greg. Excellent points, Eric. Darren, all of you. Let me ask you very quickly. We have to talk about this football game now. We have to move to the Renegades and the Argonauts very quickly. He's on the disabled list, Trevis Smith. He's not playing tonight against the BC Lions. Should he play when Saskatchewan goes to Montreal for the semifinal next week? Yes or no?
No.
I don't think he will.
Yes or no? Should he or shouldn't he? If you were running the team, would he?
No, I think it's going to be too much of a distraction.
I think maybe he should be given the possibility to play, but precautions should be taken and rules have to be in place for the CFL from the top about HIV positive players.
Danny and Roy, in all honesty, they're in a damned if they do, damned if they don't situation. It's just most unfortunate for everyone involved, Brian.
The debate could rage on forever, but I think it's something important and something that is to be dealt with and should continue to be discussed.